Hey there, and welcome to Friends Along the Way, a podcast where travel meets the stories and people who stay with us long after the trip ends. I'm Bethany, and in each episode, I'm going to sit down with a friend to share adventures, lessons, and those unexpected moments that turn strangers into friends. So grab your coffee or your boarding pass, and let's go on this adventure together. Hello, hello, hello. It is me, Bethany. I am so excited that I'm doing my own episode and I'm going over my very first international trip today. It was to London, Paris, and Amsterdam. So I'm going to go through how I even got into it, how I went on the trip, and what really stood out to me with every city that I went to, and give you some tips if you ever go over there. I am not an expert, but there are a couple things that I did pick up while I was over there. So we will get into all of that, but I wanted to start with the fact that this trip was through a group. The company is called EF Ultimate Break. I've heard about it from plenty of people and thought it would be perfectly fine. I didn't really do any research for any other companies. I liked EF. I saw their stuff on Instagram all the time. So I'm like, what the heck? Let's do it. I was very nervous, in all honesty, to hit the book button, but I did it and I was so freaking excited that I called or texted all my friends and let them know and got to share the good news. But then I called my mom and she kind of freaked out. She's like, "Are you going by yourself? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? Like, what is going on? Are you sure about this? Are you sure you want to leave the country?" Which, you know, Midwestern mom, I talked to her even today. She likes what she likes. She does what she wants to do. She doesn't really go out of her comfort zone. She likes routine. So it's a very honest response from her, which I could see coming from her. But I reassured her that I was going with a group and everything. But the way that I did all of this with EF was very easy. They have so many different options of trips, like all over the world. You just kind of picked whatever one you wanted to. And then the nice thing is, they do the whole itinerary from the travel to the locations, all the way back to wherever you're from. So there are some people that do not want to book their flights through EF because EF can do that. I personally did for the first time just to make sure, but you can or you don't have to, which is really nice because if you're going to travel somewhere else or you want to come a couple days earlier, that's totally up to you. I know some people go from one EF tour to the next, just in a different country on a different tour. So it really is just up to you. I personally felt like this was the most comfortable I would be traveling outside of the US for the very first time. I picked these three locations. I really didn't care whether I went to Amsterdam or not. I did enjoy going there, and now I can say that I went there. But the two cities that were really on my list were London and Paris. They kind of always have been. To me, in my mind, they are staple cities that you have to go to, kind of like Tokyo or New York City or Los Angeles kind of city. They're huge. There's a lot to do there. I wanted to explore them. And really, growing up and watching shows and movies, everything, magical kind of happened either in London or Paris or one of those bigger cities. So that's why I was attracted to those two so much. And then Amsterdam was just kind of in the tour. So I'm like, what the heck? Let's do it. I didn't have to take care of everything because the itinerary was already taken care of. But my tour guide, Billy, like a week or two before the trip, asked us, okay, here's some other options for excursions that we can do on top of the ones that EF already provides if you want to go on those. Of course, the excursions, no matter if they came from EF or if the tour guide is putting them on, they will be extra money, obviously. So that's also a cost to think about. But my first plane ride, I've been on a plane plenty of times throughout the United States. But I went on my very first plane that had three sections of seats, so a right, a middle, and then a left. And I thought that was really cool. And I'm like, holy crap, this plane is huge. And it was, and I'm very thankful that there are more bathrooms on those planes than just like the two or three bathrooms on a regular size plane. So, get to London, get to my hostel, meet my new friends that I made, and freshened up a little bit. And so, night one, we did a welcome dinner. I had the fish and chips because how could you not when you're in London? Also, there will always be with EF these tours, and an introductory dinner, like a welcome dinner, and then a farewell dinner, a goodbye dinner at the end. So when you sign up for everything, like a couple months later, when Billy got to us, he's like, okay, what do you want for dinner? And the dinners are included, those two dinners at least, in the upfront fee. So, had fish and chips. It was good. I did not realize how much real estate the Brits use. So, it's very much, the city is very much like New York in the aspect of their houses are squished together. It's very person living on top of another person type of ordeal. And they have basements. So if there's a restaurant on top, they'll convert it to another space down at the bottom. So they really use all of the real estate that they have. So that was interesting. It was kind of claustrophobic to me because there were no windows, but it was okay. Oh, about our hostel. Let I need to back up because I've never stayed in a hostel before. And when I was getting ready, put my stuff away, I thought I walked into a walk in closet. Very small, two sets of bunk beds. And oh, yeah, that one, the London one, was not very spacious. They aren't really. They're trying to get as many rooms in as possible, fit in as many people to make money, obviously. But I did like our hostel in London just because there were so many international people there. So there were people from Australia, France, literally all over. And so it was really fun to me and interesting listening to all the different languages, seeing all of these people from different walks of life. So that was very interesting. But it was probably that hostel was not my favorite just because of the breakfast in the morning. They were serving like things of meat. And I'm like, who wants like a slab of ham for breakfast? I mean, bacon, yes, Sausage links, yes, but like the slab of ham that you would eat on an Easter Sunday, no thank you. We go out. So that night I had my fish and chips. Everybody else kind of stayed out, drank at the bar that was at the hostel. I did not. I was exhausted. I'm not the best at sleeping on planes because personally I snore and I get very uncomfortable falling asleep and people hearing me snore. I don't know what it is, but that's just an insecurity of mine. Even though I've heard plenty of people snore on planes. Like, it's a natural thing that your body does. If you don't snore, that's cool. If you do, I'm glad we're in the same boat. So, the second day, technically the second day, we were there. We did a bunch of London sightseeing. We watched the changing of the guards at Buckingham Palace. It was absolutely amazing. We went to Westminster Abbey. We saw the Tower of London. We saw Big Ben. Like, we walked everywhere. We saw it all, which was absolutely so cool. Cultural differences that I personally notice that everybody from America will notice is that in Europe, they smoke a lot, like a lot, a lot. So get ready to get secondhand smoke, which I never would have thought. And two, make sure that wherever you're at, you always make sure to use the bathroom because if you are walking around and you need to use public restrooms, you have to pay for those. Also, people don't really carry around water bottles like they do in America. I know that people have their Stanleys, their Awalas, all of that. They do not do that. And you have to pay for water. So if you are at a restaurant, even if it's still water, you have to pay for it. And sometimes the alcohol is actually cheaper than the water itself. So, interesting things that I learned. And I'm telling you all of this because going out for the very first day, it was a shocker to me. Just, I didn't know people smoked that much. Bathroom, I go to the bathroom all the time. So, yeah. And I drink a lot of water all the time. So, I guess those two just kind of go hand in hand. From there, we went out on the London Eye. We actually went on the London Eye. I will say you can skip the London Eye in all seriousness because it's like 30 pounds, which comes up to, I don't know, maybe 32, 33 US dollars. And it's great, but you're on there for an hour. It's not like a Ferris wheel where you sit with one other or two other people. You have a group about 30 going into like this caged area and you're taking an hour to go around and there's not much sitting space and so it's just standing kind of for a whole hour, which if you're a stander that's fine, but if you want to sit and relax, that's not really the place to do it. So there are other places that you can go to that actually get a better sighting of what you're kind of looking for and what you would see on the London Eye that are free. So definitely look those up. Then we went on a boat tour, which was really cool. And this started my love for boat tours. I don't know why, but to me, it is so calming being on the water. Maybe being from Wisconsin when you're on a boat in the summer, it's just relaxing. So I think boat tours are just very relaxing for me. And I love being out on the water. I'm kind of like a little water baby in that sorts. On that boat tour, we had the traditional English tea and crumpets. So good. I felt very British in that moment. And then, oh, going off of the whole British thing, I will say that they don't call themselves Brits over there or whatever it may be. It's just kind of like a US thing that we call them Brits. So that's a fun fact for you. After that boat tour, which was the best, we went out that night for a pub crawl. It's the London pub crawl, something like that. So it wasn't just our group, it was a couple other people, random people that came onto the crawl with us. Super nice. We went to a couple different bars and bar hopped. We started over by Chinatown, ended up at Coyote Ugly at one point. That is the only bar I know because I know that's also in Nashville. So don't ask me what bars I went to. I do not remember. This was almost a year ago at this point now. So I don't remember specifics. The day after, we kind of got to do whatever we wanted to. My friend Brittany, that I met on the tour, she'll be on next week's episode. Her and I went to Notting Hill and on Portobello Street. They have a bunch of different, like, little antique shops, and it's kind of like a market in a sense, like an outdoor market. So they had little stands with antique jewelry, antique clothes, all of that good stuff. That was super cool. And Notting Hill is actually known for their colorful houses. So that was so pretty to see. It kind of reminded me of the Painted Ladies in San Francisco. But yeah, it was just a great little neighborhood. And I suggest that when you're in London, you don't just go to central London where like Big Ben and all that kind of stuff is. You go out to the neighborhoods because they're all very quaint and different and interesting and unique. So going out to the little areas, they have stuff to do there. And so that was fun. From that, we went to the Camden Market, which was actually my favorite part. Everybody hears about the Borough Market. That's probably the largest one, the most popular one if you see it on Instagram and TikTok. But the Camden Market is so cool. All of the different like food options that you have, the Indian food in London is so good. I was very surprised. I love Indian food. If you want to try it, definitely go for it. It was absolutely amazing. A big thing in the Borough Market is that they have these whole strawberries covered in chocolate in a cup. You can get that at the Camden Market as well. And so I tried that. Ugh, everything is so good. I know, I will say this, the food in London, usually it's very bland. I think they need a little bit more seasoning. But the Indian food was amazing. The little places in the market for food was amazing. So there are little pockets where you can find some really good food and some gems to eat at. So don't think that it's all just like beans, meat, and more meat and potatoes. They have a lot to offer there just because London is probably one of the biggest hubs for people internationally like moving there. So, a fun fact for London that I love to think about, and I think this is what attracts me to London, other than its beauty and there's so much to do and so much history, is the fact that they have things called, let's just call them pods. I don't know the specific name, but there is a pod of 10,000 people, say, from Ethiopia. So there are 10,000 Ethiopians. And so that's considered a pod. Then there are 10,000 Canadians. That's a pod. So they have more than 50 pods. That's more than 50,000 people that are there from different countries that live there every single day, add to society, are residents. And so I thought that was really cool because you get to experience so many different cultures just in one place and hear all of their languages being spoken. It is very magical, and it gets me every time. I just love it. From, okay, I know I get off topic sometimes, but when I think about things, I have to share it. From the Camden Market, which was my favorite, in that area, there is a bar where Amy Winehouse actually used to perform all the time. Like, that was her go to bar to perform at. So I thought it was really cool that I got to go in there. I had a beer there. It was really cool. I truly enjoyed it. And it's just like little gems of these places with little history moments that you don't find every single day. So that was very interesting. Plus, at the Camden Market, they have a statue of Amy Winehouse, which you would think would be pretty big, but I'm pretty sure that it's supposed to be an exact replica of her size. And if it's true, she's very tiny as a human being, or she was at least. That night, we kind of, I actually don't remember that night because I think it was early, just because we then had to travel to Paris the next day. So we traveled on the train from London to Paris. And you're probably like, how did that happen? It's an underground train. They recently built it, maybe in the last 10-15 years, maybe not even 10-15 years, but in the past couple of years. So it's new. Everything was dark, so obviously I didn't see water or anything like that. But once we got to Paris, I was in absolute awe of how gorgeous Paris is. I mean, it just absolutely beautiful. I felt like I was walking in a painting because the structures are so well designed, so articulate. I was in absolute awe, and I actually cannot wait to go back just to walk around the streets of Paris. You don't even have to take me back to the Louvre or let me go to museums, anything like that. Just let me walk around aimlessly and see all the beauty that Paris is. I will say that Paris is a little bit more spread out to me than London was. I felt London was like a little bit more compact. So when you go on the train or, on a bus, it to me it felt like it took a little bit longer. That day when we got to Paris, it was a little bit later, but we went and took pictures by the Notre Dame. Unfortunately, it was closed and it literally reopened from the fire 2 weeks after I left, which kind of sucked, but gives me another reason to go back. We went on another boat tour. Yes, me and my boat tours. I know. And I had my champagne. I was on the Seine River. We were going up and down it, seeing all of the beautiful lights. And I know why Paris is the city of lights. It was just, ugh, gorgeous. We got to see the Eiffel Tower light up. I actually FaceTimed my mom so that she could experience it with me. And then she's like, well, I'm at dinner. I'm like, whatever, cancel the call, end it. I'll call my sister instead and FaceTime her. So she got to see it too, which those are just little things that if I think about it, I do want my family to kind of be there with me. So if a FaceTime call will suffice, I'm more than willing to do it because I want them to kind of experience that with me in the moment. The next day, we went to the Palace of Versailles, and we didn't get to see the gardens because it was cold and everything was kind of just packed up for the winter. The flowers weren't out, but I heard the gardens are absolutely amazing, and it's an extra part to go see. So if you are there in the summer, or the late spring when everything is blooming, I heard it's absolutely gorgeous. So 10 out of 10 would recommend. I ate at I think it was a five-star restaurant at the Palace of Versailles. The food was very good. Had that. And it was just, I mean, to experience this stuff, I am so blessed to have experienced it because everything was just so beautiful in there. This palace was huge. The paintings were immaculate. The way the rooms were set up way back in like the 1800s, 1700s. I'm probably wrong with my eras and that kind of stuff, but just way back then, the luxury of these places were gorgeous. The halls where they had um, dancing and parties had to be extra large because when the ladies would come in, they had those huge dresses. So, in order for people to fit, you had to have the halls extra wide because of those dresses. And that day we also took a bus tour, so we got to see the Arc de Triomphe. We got to see all these different places via bus, and that was really interesting. Our tour guide for that, she was actually from America, and talked about the differences between America and Paris and France as a whole. So that was very interesting to hear her perspective, being from America and moving over there, and just the differences culturally and lifestyle wise. That night, we went to a cabaret show. I know Moulin Rouge is probably the most iconic and famous. We didn't go to that because our tour guide for this whole thing, his name is Billy. And Billy's like, I don't want it to be too racy. I don't know my group. So I go with a less racy type of cabaret show, which is probably smart, obviously. But the cabaret show I saw was it was really cool. It was very interesting. I would possibly go to one again. It's kind of a thing off of my bucket list. But I heard Moulin Rouge is absolutely amazing. But if you can't get in, or you think it'll be a little bit too much for you, there are other options. The day after that, so like day 3 now we are in London, I went to the catacombs all by myself. Catacombs, if you're not really into it, you can skip it. I would also say for the tall people, it can get very claustrophobic down there. And I'm 5'5". I personally think I'm like 5'7" or 5'8" because of my personality. But being 5'5", it was a little bit claustrophobic for me. And the ceilings were a little bit lower than what I would naturally like for them to be. So, for people who actually work down there, I don't know how they do it because it To me, it's, oh, yeah, I went by myself, but I wish I went with somebody else just to grab their arm. I don't know, I was a little bit anxious down there. It was really hot for me. I wouldn't go again. I've done my due diligence. I've learned the history, had the little pods in to hear about the history of everything. But I kind of walked pretty fast through it just because of that anxiety level. And I'm like, okay, let's get out of here. Plus, you have to go down like 36 flights to get down and then to go back up. So it is really far down in the ground. They say that it should be cold down there, so I wore a jacket. No, I was very warm. I was a little heated. Again, probably because of the anxiety. I also went to the Louvre that day. I started off with some friends. We kind of scattered and then met back up. But the Louvre is gorgeous. 1,000 out of 10. You need to go. There's so much to see. I wanted to see Napoleon's apartment. I did not get to see that, so I have to go back. I got to see the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa isn't all what it's cracked up to be. I thought in my mind, which I think a lot of people think, because the Mona Lisa is so hyped and it's such a timeless piece of art that it would be huge. No, it's pretty small in comparison of what you think it would be. And so I think it's a little bit overrated just because of the size. But you have to see it in your life. I mean, you want to say that you've seen the Mona Lisa at least once in your life. But there are so many people around it that you kind of get one look, take a picture, and you're done. No need to sit there and stare at it. Give other people their space to go look at it. Fun fact, the Louvre has so many pieces of art and artifacts that if you wanted to see every single piece for only 30 seconds, it would take you maybe even less than 30 seconds. Just kind of like a glimpse at an artifact over to the next one. It would take you and a month straight. And that is 24/7, 7 days a week, a month straight for you to see absolutely everything because it is so big. I also could not figure out how to get out of that place for at least a half an hour. But I was there for 3 hours or so, 3.5 hours. You could spend all day there and just hit the tip of the iceberg, not even hit the tip of the iceberg. So gorgeous, 1,000 out of 10, would recommend. And keep going back and seeing it because you will always see something that you didn't see the first time. So beautiful. From there, the next day, we traveled over to Amsterdam. We got to walk around Amsterdam. I saw their stock market building, which was really interesting. It kind of replicated the one that is in New York City. So if you know the bull statue that is in front of the New York City Stock Exchange, there is a replica bull in front of the Amsterdam Stock Exchange. We went into a little church conservatory thing, and you had to be super quiet, and that that was interesting to see a church in that aspect. Everybody was very quiet, very respectful. It kind of was like a little town. So you open up these gates, well, a door to go in, and it's like a little park, and you have little buildings, and then you have the church that you can go inside of. That was that was a very like grounded kind of moment for me because everywhere you can go anywhere in the world, but a church is so gorgeous. takes you back to like, yeah, you may be going on this adventure, but church will always be there. And that's what I felt. There was so much solitude in that moment, and it made my heart so happy. I personally love being in church, though. That's what my favorite thing is sometimes. It's so calming and peaceful. So from there, we just kept walking around. And I personally feel that Amsterdam is a very like it's kind of like a Sin City. It's kind of like a Las Vegas. No, you're not gambling, but prostitution is legal. They pay taxes just like everybody else. With the red light district where the prostitutes are in the windows, you can go in there, pay for sex, all of that, come out, whatever. In that red light district, there are still restaurants. There are still families bringing in children to go eat at that restaurant. So everything is very visible to the naked eye for any age. Also, pot is legal there, drugs are legal there. So there's like a shroom store. You go to what they call cafes, and you can get weed brownies, weed food, but also like blunts and stuff like that. And so that was a big kind of like culture shock for me. And you can tell the difference from being in a place like London compared to Paris and then Amsterdam. You just kind of get, I don't know, it's like a vibe thing for me. But later that night, I personally like to take myself on little dates. So I did that with the catacombs. And I took myself on a date to see the Van Gogh Museum, which was so pretty. You go in, just the art and the way he painted things. You could see the strokes of the brush on the actual canvas when you got up close to it. It was really surreal that one person so artistic had made all of these beautiful images. I also took myself to dinner, a nice steak dinner, and it was really good. Next day, oh, actually, that night, there were two hostels that had the exact same name. One was like on one part in one part of the city, the other one was in this other part. I put it in my phone, Google Maps, because Apple Maps suck there. So Google Maps, and I went to the wrong location. And so I'm like, is it this one? She's like, and the lady at the front desk is like, I think you went to the wrong location. I'm like, ah, crap. I did so good at using the transit system by myself. I was so proud. And then I said, screw it, and got an Uber. But if you're looking to use a good app to help you get through these European cities, the app is called City Mapper. It looks green, it has a little arrow on it. Fantastic. So, like, really so nice. Um, it has the subway, the rail, ferry, bus, and even maps. So you can actually see, like, currently I'm looking at the New York City subway, and I can see the maps of how to get everywhere, the different routes, all of that. So that's super nice. And I would say use that. I was told to use that in an email from Billy early on, but I did not read the full email. And so I used Google Maps, which sufficed, but City Maps looks a lot better. The next day, we went on a bike tour. And I swear, because Amsterdam is known for their tulips and their bikes. They're actually more bikes than humans in the city of Amsterdam. So that's a fun fact for you. And they are ruthless with those bikes. Ruthless. They are such fast pedalers. Holy crap. Like, we went on this tour, and I swear some of us have not ridden a bike in years because a lot of people almost fell off. Well, a couple of people, I should say. But our tour guide is, we're running behind. Do you think we can go any faster? I'm like, sir, there was one girl back there that literally almost flipped over. You think we can go any faster? Ruthless. These humans are ruthless. But it was a lot of fun to see the countryside, to see the houses on the water, to see the windmills, all of that, and just kind of get away from the city aspect. Very pretty. 10 out of 10 would recommend, but your butt will hurt. So maybe put some extra padding in your tush, or just get through it and let your butt numb itself. I don't know. But I would do it. I would totally do it. Later that day, we had our last boat tour. It was so cold in Amsterdam. So cold, especially at night. So going on the water, extra cold. We all layered up. We all had our little glasses of wine. We had our charcuterie boards. We were all starving. Those charcuterie boards went so fast. But just learning about the history, we got to see a pirate ship. There are actually Uber boats in Amsterdam. I saw one in London as well, which I thought was very interesting because I've never seen that. But it was, anything with a boat is so cool. Maybe I should live on a boat one day. Probably not. Probably not. I need to walk everywhere. I need to use my legs and have like more space than just a boat. But like a little houseboat like they have in Amsterdam, I would live in one of those. I think that would be really cool. That night we had our goodbye dinner, and it was so sad, but Billy, sweetest tour guide ever, he gave us a little note, like handwritten note, saying how much he loved hanging out with us. He told me I was sassy but sweet, which is, yeah, that's me. That is me. So I'm not going to even deny that right now. That is me to a T. He made us little bracelets. So every time we go on a tour with him, because he does more than the London, Paris, and Amsterdam tour for EF, that if we ever went with him again, we could add more charms to that bracelet. So he was just super sweet. He knows so many languages, could talk to everybody. He actually used to live in Paris for a little bit, so he gave us tips. His one was never wear a beret. If any one of us did, he would let us be by ourselves and never talk to us again. And we would have to face Paris without him and the group. So never wear a beret in Paris just because you will look like a tourist, and they do pickpocket there. So don't look like a tourist, so then you won't get pickpocketed or you won't be targeted for pickpocketing. Another thing that, well, another standout for me that I forgot to talk about with London is that their transit system, they call it the tube. So it's underground, it's their train system. They call it the tube. If you get, I think it's an Oyster card, that may be Paris, but if you get a card to tap in to get to your train, make sure to always tap out because they will charge you for that. So that's just a tip. Plus, they always tell you to mind the gap. So the gap between the train car and the where you step out on. So mind the gap and make sure to always tap in and tap out to get on and off of the train. You will see it when you enter, you tap in. When you're exiting, you tap out. You'll see it, you'll figure it out, but make sure you do it so you don't get an extra charge. If you are ever converting money and you need to do it, do not do it in the airport because they will charge you more for the exchange. So never do it in the airport. Make sure to get to your hostel, your Airbnb, or your hotel, and then find like an ATM or an exchange rate place where you can get your pounds or whatever kind of cash that you need. And do not give them US dollars, coins, anything like that. You need to make sure that if you are ever tipping, which I'll talk about the tipping culture in a second, that you give them their money. Okay. It's like if somebody from Mexico came to your restaurant and you were bartending or serving and they tipped you in pesos. What are you going to do with pesos? Now you have to go and do the exchange rate with that. So it's just a hassle for them. So be very cognizant of that and just respect them and their culture. Tipping, they don't tip like the US does, but 10 to 12% is good for them. They don't really ask for it, but if you're going to tip them, only tip the 10 to 12%. Nothing too crazy, just tipping culture is different. And with that, I think that was the best trip of my entire life. I would go back in a heartbeat. I wish I could go back all the time. And if you're ever thinking of doing an international trip and you're kind of worried about it, definitely go on a tour. Use EF Ultimate Break. There are other companies out there. I don't know them because I've never used them, but find a good one, find a reputable company, and just go have fun, go learn something new. I think that going traveling to a different country is absolutely amazing. You learn so much about a different culture, obviously, but you learn so much about yourself, and you kind of learn about your resiliency in the fact that if something ever happens to you, or you miss a train, or you aren't with your group, you will figure it out. And I think that just gives you some confidence in yourself and really builds you up as a human being. So, confidence levels increase heavily when you travel to different places, and it's really just good for the soul. Try something new, try something different. And like I say in my outro, just book the ticket. Just do it. You know you want to do it. And money comes and goes. I'm not giving you financial advice here. Do not hold me to financial advice, okay? But money will come and go. Your experiences will last with you a lifetime. And really, there are cheap ways to travel. So, price everything out. Maybe go and start looking at tickets and saving tickets on like Hopper and Google Flights so that you can see if they decrease or whatever. Do what you need to do in order to make yourself feel comfortable financially to go on a trip. I say just do it. And a lot of companies like EF, they allow you to put $150 down and then pay monthly up until like a month before the trip. So that's also a way to do it. So you're not spending like $3,000 at a time. So there are different options, different opportunities, and I say just do it. But for now, I'm going to let you go. If you want to hear anything else, about my trip that I might have left out, let me know or maybe ask more in depth questions, but I can always answer those on the social platforms like Instagram and TikTok. But for now, I will do another like solo kind of episode in the upcoming weeks and give you some more what are they called? Interviews. There we go. I'll give you some more interviews now. So I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful night, and a wonderful week, a wonderful life, whatever it may be. And I really encourage you to take a leap of faith. Bye. Thanks for joining me on this leg of the journey. If today's story made you smile, think, or dream a little bigger, share it with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. You can find more travel moments and behind the scenes stories on Instagram at Friends Along the Way Pod. Until next time, safe travels, say yes, book the ticket, and keep making friends along the way.